nerve-wracking moments, especially like when she was supposed to be there, like for certain parts of the lesson, and she wasn't there, so I would just do it. And I like don't even know if she like realized that she was supposed to like be doing that part of the lesson. And so in the beginning, I was really stressed out if she wasn't in the room, because also then classroom management, like, what's going on. But now it's like if she leaves the room, like I don't even care. But the students are like, oh, is Miss Robinson here today? I'm like, oh, don't worry about it, she'll come back. And so it's like I feel like I'm at a comfort level where it's like even if she's not in the room, it's okay.
Okay. In what ways do you find it helpful or unhelpful at both points in time? Was it helpful at all in the very beginning?
I think in the very beginning, like, it was probably helpful in some ways, like where the teachers didn't always look to Miss Robinson then. Like for
the kids were like, you're the teacher, not Miss Robinson.
Maybe not necessarily, but that's like how I felt. So like when she wasn't in the classroom, I like maybe was able to answer more questions or like to be more the teacher role. Because I think I stepped back when Miss Robinson was in the classroom, because I think it's like a big respect thing too, and I think it might be cultural. Like, as like an Asian American, she is the teacher. This is her classroom, and I want to give her like the authority that she deserves. Because like this is not my classroom, even though I'm student teaching it. And so I think whenever like she has something to say, like I will always like quiet down, like if I'm with a student. But I think on the flip side, like if I'm trying to get everyone's attention, she will continue to talk with the student because she wants to push them, and she's more engaged in the conversation than like bringing it back together for the class. So oftentimes, like, okay, we'll let Ms. Robinson continue her conversation, but everyone else like come back.
In the meantime, over here,
So I think that's like a big thing for me. Like I always want to respect her and like let her know that like this is still your classroom, and like, you have power and control, and like if you want to change something, that's for you always. And I feel like at this point, like, she like has given me a lot of power to like control the classroom. And like, and I'm okay with her like continuing her conversations with her students because that's her like pressing for learning, and I'm not going to stop learning if it's happening.
Right. Okay. So it's kind of helpful, but it was also unhelpful because in the beginning it increased the anxiety like through the ceiling for you.
But it was interesting. On the days when we had subs, though, it's like you could tell like the students like me more than the subs, so they like respect me more. I was like, okay, this is great.
Like, funny hierarchy. Weird.
It's like a funny hierarchy, and so the days where I had a sub and Tiffany was out, actually, like I felt like I maybe taught a little better because there was less pressure. Like even because like Tiffany wasn't watching me. And I felt like I could like be a little free. In like what I was doing. And like didn't always have to second guess what I was saying or teaching.
So that's interesting. So it was both helpful and unhelpful for her not to be in the room, but it seemed it was also helpful and unhelpful for you when she was in the room, in like first semester in particular, it sounds like. But now, I'm just trying to recap what you said, and so now it's like it's you're okay. It's neither helpful nor unhelpful. It's just fine when she's not there. But when she's there, it sounds like you still feel like she's watching you, or is that not as much anymore?
I think more so I'm grateful that she's there because she gives me feedback after it, but I don't think I'm afraid anymore of what she'll say. I think more I'm like looking forward to like what can I do to improve? And I think it's become a relationship like where we can notice things that the other person didn't notice, and she'll be like, I noticed this table group was struggling with this. I'm like, this table group also struggled with that. And then we come together, share notes, and be like, okay, what can we do to modify the next lesson so that we can make this misconception or something.
Okay, cool. Because this leaving the classroom is a very common move, right? And I go back and forth about the goodness of it, because I think there's a time when a mentor teacher has to leave, but I wonder where in your developmental curve, right, of like becoming a teacher from starting as a baby intern who knows nothing to, I'm actually fairly confident and I'm going to be a novice teacher now. Where in that timeline is it actually helpful for you for a mentor teacher not in the room? And that's something that I'm asking I'm asking all these questions, everybody, right? But it's interesting to hear you all say what it is that you think about that.
Like, in terms of, like, I think after I started knowing how to, like, lesson plan, it was fine if she wasn't in the room.
Yeah.
I think before that point, it was just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Because you don't know what the next step is, basically, right?
Yeah. So if I think it's, like, all about, like, it's all about the lesson planning. It's all about, like, your awareness of, like, what the flow is for that day.
Yeah.
And, like, to be honest, there were days, like, where I didn't prep as well, and I didn't know the flow of the day, and I didn't know how transitions were going to work, because I just didn't have the time or, like, the capacity to do it. So I would come in that morning and try to figure it out and pull it together, and I was like, oh, this isn't going to work. Like, I'm not ready for the day. And I would really lean heavily on Tiffany those days. Like, and if she left the classroom that day, I was like, oh, I'm so screwed.
Yeah.
And, like, I didn't know when she would leave the classroom sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. You know, something you just said a word that I find is operative in this whole experience of yours first semester. Mm-hmm. So I know you felt often a crunch for time because you've got these competing demands, right? The program, you have class 2 times a week. There's a lot going on with it. You have assignments that are hanging together with what you do here, but not necessarily, blah, blah, blah. But you just said, I didn't have necessarily the time or the capacity. Which one of those do you feel played a bigger role where you felt at a loss when it came to lesson planning first semester? Was it like the capacity, like the skills and the knowledge how to do it, or was it the time?
I felt like it was both.
Yeah.
Like, I think because, like, so, like I mentioned, like, I have a lot of obligations besides just class. Like, I'm still invested in my church, but I just had to take a break from my church.
Yeah.
Because, like, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So, like, I was on leadership with my church. I had to step down for this program. And then I actually was tutoring a lot because, like, I'm financially, like, I just need to support myself.
Yeah.
So, So I'm still tutoring. I'm tutoring less, though.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning of the year, I was, like, tutoring, like, almost every day.
Wow.
And that was, like, maybe 1 or 2 hours a night.
Yeah.
Then that cut into my lesson planning.
Right.
And then if I had church after, like, tutoring on, like, Wednesday nights or on Sunday, that was just, like, more to do.
Yeah.
And so I had to say no to a lot of things in order to dedicate into this program.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think people did tell me, like, oh, you're going to have to give things up for this program. And I didn't realize what they really meant until I really had to cut things out. Like, I don't really see my friends anymore.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't really, I'm not involved in my church anymore. And, like, I barely see my family because, like, I don't have time to go down on the weekends because it's, like, an hour and a half drive there and then an hour and a half drive back.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I was sharing this actually with another teacher candidate. It's like, you know, I feel like I'm really developing as a teacher, but I'm, like, losing out on everything else. So,
you know what I just thought is, it's in the same vein. I think what's really difficult is when you go right from your undergrad into a master's program. The undergrad experience is so different. While you guys all have schedules, you have so much more control over your daily life and how to chunk up things, right? Yes, you have to write papers and all this, but it's basically like going to school. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot more time every day where you determine how you want to spend it. And when you go into a master's program and a master's in teaching in particular, to enter the adult world and that profession directly from an undergrad, I think I started understanding also what the difference is between someone who's like a career changer in their mid-30s doing this versus someone who comes out of undergrad directly into that. For someone who's worked for 10 years and has had already these adulting things going on, they juggle this differently than someone like you because they've had to do this already for so long. But for you guys, it's like a 180. It's like all of a sudden you're like thrown into the deep end of, you have to give up everything because otherwise you're not going to be able to do this work, this job. And that's really hard. And someone can tell you 400 times, you will have to give up so many things. You go like, oh yeah, sure. But you don't know how to imagine that because you've never had to do it, right? Yeah. It'll change, but it'll take 5 years or so of teaching. Sorry. I want you to be prepared in some way, because first year teaching is really difficult because it's not only that you will you're by yourself and you do everything. You have to learn a new place. It's kind of like coming to Hale, only you're a teacher